Everyone, so let's talk about vector search. You've heard the terms, right? Semantic search, vector databases. It is absolutely all the rage in tech right now. And, whenever a new tool gets this much hype, it's really tempting to start seeing it as the magic solution for every single problem you have.
And that brings us right to the big question we're tackling today. Is vector search a golden hammer? Is this incredible new technology really the right tool for every single job? Well, to figure that out, we've got to cut through all the noise and really understand where it fits in the toolbox.
All right, so to figure out if we're trying to use a hammer on a screw, we need to get back to basics. It really all boils down to two fundamental things: the kind of stuff you're searching through and the way you're searching for it. If you get this part right, everything else just clicks into place.
Okay, first up, we've got structured data. Honestly, this is the stuff that most of us have been working with our entire careers. It's organized, it's totally predictable, it's got a defined schema. Just think about those neat rows and columns in a database table, or a perfectly formed JSON object. It's data that follows the rules.
And then, on the complete other side of the spectrum, you have unstructured data. And this is the messy, free-form, chaotic information that is just everywhere today. We're talking about the text from your emails and chat logs, the pixels that make up an image, the audio from a podcast. It doesn't fit into a nice, neat little table, and that makes searching it a whole different ballgame.
So how do we actually search through these completely different types of data? Well, there are really two main ways to go about it. First, there's structured search. This is what you're probably super familiar with. It finds exact matches. Think about a SQL query that's looking for a specific user ID or filtering products that cost between $50 and $100. It's all about precision. But then you've got semantic search, which is kind of the new kid on the block. It uses these amazing language models to understand the meaning and the relationship between words. So it gets that if you search for a summer dress, you're probably also interested in a sundress. It understands your intent, not just the literal keywords you typed.
Okay, so now we've got our building blocks, right? Two types of data, structured and unstructured, and two types of search, structured and semantic. Now we can put them all together. And when we do, it creates this super simple matrix that is just a brilliant framework for deciding which tool to use and when. So let's just walk through this matrix. We'll start on the left side. Structured search, the world of exact matches. In that top left corner, we've got structured data and structured search. This is your classic SQL database, right? You're filtering a highly organized table for exact values. It is blazing fast because it's just looking up info that's already been indexed. Right below that, we've got unstructured data with structured search. This is basically your standard full-text search. Think of it like hitting Ctrl+F in a giant document to find an exact keyword. Simple. Now, let's hop over to the right side, where things get really cool. Semantic search. Top right corner, you have structured data with semantic search. This is where you find something called entity embeddings. This is where you can take organized data, like a user profile, and turn it into a vector, a string of numbers, to find hidden relationships. It's perfect for things like finding similar users for a recommendation engine. And finally, the bottom right quadrant, unstructured data with semantic search. This is the absolute sweet spot for vector databases. This is where we turn things like images or entire paragraphs into those numerical vectors to find stuff that's conceptually similar, even if the keywords don't match at all.
Now that matrix is a fantastic mental model. It really is. But as we all know, reality is almost never that clean and tidy. In the real world, our data is this messy combination of structured and unstructured stuff, and we often need to search it in multiple ways, all at the same time. So let's look at a practical, real-world example to see how this all plays out.
Okay, just picture a product catalog for an e-commerce website. You've got product images and long descriptions. That's all unstructured data. You could use semantic search to let people find visually similar items or descriptions that have a similar vibe. But then you also have the price, the color, the category, and that's classic structured data. You'll want to filter those with precise structured queries. And what about the product name? Well, that could go either way. You might want to find an exact match for a brand name, or you might want to find products with similar sounding names. See how it gets complicated?
And this need to use multiple techniques all at once is exactly what leads us to something called hybrid search. This is the reality for most modern applications. A user wants to find a flowy summer top. That's a semantic, meaning-based query, but they also want one that is red and under $40, and those are structured filters. The very best systems out there combine all of these approaches into a single, powerful query to get the most relevant results possible.
So, we've kind of toured the entire search landscape, but what are the key things you should walk away with?
I want to leave you with just a few simple but really powerful rules of thumb to help guide you when you're building your next big thing.
First off, favor structured search whenever you can. It's tried and true, it's fast, and for exact matches, it's just better because it's working with predictable data. Second, for image search, yes, semantic is almost always the way to go. For text, it depends. If the meaning of the text matters more than the specific keywords, use semantic search. But if precision is what you need, stick with good old full-text search. And finally, look, using entity embeddings to analyze your customer data for complex fraud patterns is incredibly powerful, but it is probably massive overkill if you just need to search for a user by their email. Always, always choose the simplest tool that gets the job done.
You know, what's really important here is that there isn't one simple answer. I haven't just handed you a checklist that says, always use vector search for X. Instead, what you have now is a framework for thinking, a way to explore all the options and make the right choice for your specific problem. And honestly, that is way more valuable.
So, is vector search a golden hammer? Absolutely not. It's more like a brand new, high-tech power tool in your toolbox. It is incredibly powerful, for sure, but it sits right alongside the classic, reliable tools you've been using for years. The key is, now you have the framework to know which tool to grab for which job. So the only question left is, what are you going to build? I hope this was helpful. Thanks for tuning in.